제시카 외동딸 일리노이 시카고 과선배는 김치모 그는 이사촌.
Hello and welcome to the Warp Shelf. I'm Frank Duran.
I'm Deshaun Vasquez.
And today we're looking at Parasite, the Best Picture winner of this year. But not only Best Picture, Best Director, Best International Film. They changed it from foreign film, which I enjoy. I think that's
I think it's a better name.
It's a way better name. And what else did it win? It won something else. Was that it?
I think it won like one other thing because it did walk away with quite a few.
Yeah, it walked away with quite a few. But it's so we're gonna do a deep dive because we watched it today.
Yeah, like everyone else on the planet, we kind of watched it after it had already been nominated and after it already won. I swear I meant to see it.
No,
before it even got nominated, but I just never got around to it.
It's funny because I bought it 2 days before it won, and I just didn't get to it in time to watch it. So I put in the effort, just not the 100%. I half-assed it. But basically, we've now whole-assed it, and now we're going to not only take a deep dive into Parasite, but also why it won Best Picture, because I feel like there's a little bit to discuss on why it won, and then also we'll take a little bit of a look at the other pictures. We're not going to go into them fully deeply, but Deshaun's seen most of them, and I've seen less than most, but I've seen a chunk,
a percentage,
which is better than last year when I had like 1 or 2. I feel like this year I've done a better job, but I didn't do as good of a job. So Parasite, this is kind of a hard movie to describe.
Yeah, well, first of all, just to say, full-on spoilers, because I'm not trying to, duck and dive around it.
No, because it is a movie that's hard to discuss without spoilers. Because if you tried to do a spoiler, description, you're like, these people... no, because you can't. Immediately really once you start talking about it spoils some things.
I know even Bong Joon-ho himself had said that the best way to watch Parasite is to just kind of go in not knowing anything about it, just kind of go in blind.
I agree. Yeah. I feel like that is the way to go. It's I tried to go in as blind as possible. Of course, I've seen the trailers and everything, but when I read a description, I didn't fully understand what the description meant, until I've watched it now, and I'm like,
So how would we describe the plot?
Okay, so...
I think at the simplest, it is about an underclass family who get an inn and forge a document to be able to get the son into a rich house to work and tutor one of the daughters.
And then he brings in slowly the rest of his family.
Slowly the rest of the family schemes their way into the house hierarchy, so that all of them basically work at the house and they're exploiting this rich family.
Well, not really. As much as you can say exploiting, they're not doing anything illegal. That's what I think is so great about this movie.
I mean, there's document forgery.
Yes, there's document forgery, and there's definitely some conspiracies here. But what's so interesting to me is that they're they get repercussions at the end, but in reality,
well, it's one of those things where, and we had talked about this before, and you had said that it makes you think that they're in the wrong at first, and then someone else is in the wrong, and then by the end you're just like, who's in the wrong?
Who's in the wrong? So I mean, so basically, to sum up the rest of the plot, we're following basically the brother and the daughter, and it's basically the whole family. You're seeing how they integrate themselves into the family, and then it slowly reveals. And what I think is so masterful about the family, it slowly reveals the family they're living in, and that also reveals the house that they're living in, which reveals something deep about the culture that's going on, which is why I think this movie is so powerful, is it's not only a well-directed film. There's no question here. I feel like this is if this wasn't a year with 1917, nothing would even compare, nothing would even be standing on the same directorial aspects here, because he's brimming with style here. He's sitting there being here's everything, and it's dope,
It definitely the whole thing is one huge classist framework.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love what it has to say at the end. It's really aggressive about what it has to say at the end, but that's what I like about it. We had talked about this before. But it's one of those films where I feel like the Academy, it came off as one of those films that the Academy would nominate but never actually let win.
Yes. I even said it. Like, before I saw it, I was like, there's no way Parasite's winning, because that always happens. They're always like, here, it's a foreign film, we put you with the rest of them, but it's the Academy Awards.
It's like, and let's give it to whatever, movie of the week, like, hot button
thing. Yeah, exactly. I feel like Green Book
now
is the perfect example of that. It's like, you're just like, yeah, okay.
And usually
like,
Green Book's not even like that bad.
Yeah.
It's just like, why?
This is not Best Picture.
Like, it's a solid flick. You seen Driving Miss Daisy?
Yeah.
It's pretty much like that, but in reverse.
Oh.
But if you like Mahershala Ali, and if you like
which I do.
Mortensen,
Which
then
I
you
do.
just like good performances. But the fact that the Academy is just like all over it, it's just like, relax.
Yeah, you're like, this is not good. Not as good, as something like this. Because that's the thing, is I feel like Parasite is a masterful film, and it's going to be highly rated by most people who see it. I feel like it's a crowd pleaser,
And
like,
it's good that it's actually one of his actual like South Korean films. It's
Yeah.
like in the language, and you have to watch it with subtitles, as opposed to his more like American productions.
yes, like Snowpiercer and Okja.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have to go into those films also because they kind of inform this film, because those are truly epic movies. Snowpiercer is a fight through a train, like, like they are. It's an action film, but with
it's an adaptation of that.
It is. And but then you have Okja, which is another. They're talking about the environment and how, like, and how we get our meat and what it means to get that meat, like, and but also it's like an epic on the scale of like a Disney film, where you're like, you lose an animal and you have to go get that animal back.
Yeah.
Like,
And Snowpiercer as well. Snowpiercer definitely hides its actual like budget pretty well.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But it comes off like an actual blockbuster.
Yeah.
Despite definitely not being. He's like, we're just going to be on a train, huh? It's like, well, that's going to be one set we can just redress. It's going to be great.
We're just going to keep redressing. Done.
Yep.
But it's funny because this film is the smallest of his films that I've seen, because I have not seen many of his South Korean films. So,
yeah, I've seen a handful.
and I know they're personal and they're
Definitely.
very like small and like. And I know, like, Mother is, and so is his first film, something about murders.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think it's like Memories of the Murder.
Yeah,
or something like
Murder,
that.
which I need to see. I need to see those. That's why we would have done this whole episode on him if we had seen those. But I feel like it's an injustice to only talk about his American films, like, if that's all we've
He
seen.
also did like The Host.
He did The
I think
Host.
that was like in 06, and that was really
Did you see
good.
that one? Yeah,
it was good.
Yeah, I need to see that one. I want to really bad because that looks real.
It's Memories of Murder.
Memories of Murder. Nice.
So I've
Nice.
seen that. I've seen Motel Cactus. I've seen The Host. I've seen Mother. I've seen Snowpiercer, Okja, and Parasite.
So this is not this. Is this the small, like, in scale? Like, we're talking like.
Definitely
like,
among his smaller ones. It's probably like up there with that and like Motel Cactus, because first film.
yeah.
But it's intimate, but it has a lot more polish just because he's had the experience up until now.
And I feel like that's what's so great about this movie is it's polished. Like, like you feel like every bit of it is planned and moved along. That's why I feel like it's no argument that no matter what, even if he like, I knew he was gonna. By the end of this film, I was like, yes, absolutely should have won Best International, and absolutely should have won Best Director.
It was just a huge surprise that it was both.
Yeah, right. And you're just like, yup,
because you could have so easily have been like, well, it got Best International, so we can just kind of write it off. I mean, we gave it the wink and the Best Picture, but it won't actually win. So the fact that it walked away with both is incredible, and in the fact that I would say it deserves it as well. I seen most of the other nominations, at least for Best Picture.
Yeah. And so to kind of get into why it's so masterful, it's really how purposeful he is with his imagery and his metaphors here. Like, it's not. He is being kind of straightforward with some of the metaphors, but in a good way.
As far as like the class stuff, it's about as like in your face about it as Snowpiercer was, because there was a lot of that in Snowpiercer
because
as well.
they literally are like, look at these people having their nice evening in the rain. Well, these guys are literally standing in shit water saving their house, you know, like
just like we open on like they have like this small tiny basement house. They don't have any of their Wi-Fi. They're like bumming off their neighbors. Like their houses, the streets are being fumigated, and they just let it come through the window. They just
let it come through because all the bugs. You're like, oh, jeez. And the father just keeps working because he wants...
Because
you gotta. And it's kind of interesting because it shows, like, the determination, you know, that they all have. They're all, like... They all come from that dad, and you know that dad has that determination to, like, always keep going.
Whereas you, like, cut to the rich family, and they just, like, have... just everything they could ever want, and they're just like so snootish and just used to just getting whatever they want at any given time,
anytime, any moment. You know, like they're like, I will take it. But I think it's interesting because we think we're going in being like, oh, it's the boy who's the main character and he's the narrator, but like you think that, and then you're like, once we switch to Jennifer, you realize. Once they bring in his sister, Jessica, sorry. Not
her alias.
Her alias, Jessica. They bring her in as a art tutor. You realize she's got the real plan. He doesn't really have a plan. She's the one who's kind of formulated it and got it all together. And it's kind of like, you know, like it's amazing that even then it switches over to their dad, Mr. Kim, you know, and you kind of see it from his perspective, which I think is one of the most
it helps, you know, that everyone's going in with a sort of different profession, so you get like different levels of just like the difference between the upper class and
you get to see different parts of the family.
Like each one of like their professions and how they get into the house could be a movie in and of itself. But the fact that we do like a whole family's worth of it, you get to see different aspects.
Yeah, and I feel like it's cool because it reveals the rich family also a little bit. You're like, first you meet the daughter and the mom, and you're like, okay. But then with Mr. Kim, you're meeting the dad.
Yeah, and then of course you find out that the rich family's not as squeaky clean or perfect as you would expect them to be, or as how they're presented.
Or as they're giving out to the rest of the world. But it's interesting because it's so crazy the drive they have to pull themselves out of poverty, but it's so interesting because it just starts imploding on them, you know? Like, and that's what's so wonderful about the film is that it goes from being like, okay, we can make this work, to being like,
because... But I mean, they did bite off more than they could chew.
Yes,
it was already pushing it,
It was pushing it from the beginning.
It was already pushing it, just getting the son and the daughter in there. But the fact that they brought in
the mom and the dad, and like kicked everyone out to just make room for themselves, of course was going to bite them in the ass. Yeah, of course it was. And it was one of those things where it was working so well that you're like, okay, where's the other foot? And we were saying that the entire movie. We're like,
just waiting for like the hard turn.
We're like, where's the other foot? We're like, when's it going to come down? Because it's definitely coming. And when it comes, you're just like, oh, shit.
So old housekeeper gets kicked out.
Yep.
Comes back, says she's forgotten something in the basement. We are immediately just like, what the hell is in the basement?
Yeah.
And even
but that's a masterful scene, by the way. I want to bring that up, is that like the whole them being nervous about like being found because it's her, and then being nervous about being found with the family is so wrought with tension. It almost makes you think of like an Alfred Hitchcock film where you're just like, oh shit, you know, like we're like so close to being, you know, caught, you know, like that's what's so great about those scenes, you know, like.
Yeah, and especially if you're going in completely blind, you don't know if this is about to go like full on horror film.
Yeah,
or if this is about to turn into a monster movie. Is there something in the basement?
I gotta say, the soundtrack is one of the standouts of this movie because it leaves you so uneasy the whole time. It's the almost unreliable narrator of the film, you know, like it's almost like trying to lead you in the wrong direction, you know, like.
I love, because one of my least favorite things about the way like modern thrillers and horror films tend to be made
is music cues.
Is that music cues so easily like telegraph everything that's about to happen.
Yeah, like when they do a false scare and then they're still playing the music, and then the music stops right after the false scare. Yeah, You're just like,
it always
did I
follows
see
like
it
the
coming?
exact same pattern every single time. And when I see people still fall for it and get scared, I want to punch something.
So, but they use it so well here because they play the creepy music not in the moments that are actually like scary or like horror-ish. They play the really scary music when it's like those small moments of like they could get caught, you know, like it's those little brief moments of like, oh no, if they bleed into our lives or we bleed into their lives, it's bad. You know, like that's the other interesting thing about this movie is there's this weird crossing the line thing that's always going on.
Yeah, it's continuing. It's also like repeated out loud.
Yeah, it's not only repeated visually because I love that about the movie is that it's the reason why he won best director is that like these moments where visually he's showing this physical line, like sometimes it's a window, and sometimes it's
like the pillar of a wall,
beam,
or it could be as simple as just like someone being in the back seat while he's in the front.
Yep.
There's like the shadow at the end.
It's amazing, and they keep it up, and it's incredible. I think it's amazing because it starts with just the shot out their window, and you can see the street.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that's the time where it doesn't matter those lines. What matters is what's below.
Yeah.
You know, like, and then later on they start doing lines because he's starting to cross it when the guy starts peeing in the alleyway. That's the first time somebody's like being publicly rude, you know, like, and you're like, oh, he's crossing the line. And then they have the scene where the madame is asleep and the first housekeeper tries to wake her, and she wakes her by clapping in front of her face and then backing up.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously a moment where she's crossed the line, like, socially. Like, she should not do that, you
just
know?
like stay in your lane.
Yeah, stay in your lane. And you're just like, it's interesting because it shows off a disdain, you know? Like, that's what's so crazy about, and I feel like that's what's so, the main message of this is that, like, sometimes when they're talking about the staying in your lane and staying in your box, they're not talking about, like, you know, like being polite. They're literally talking about, like, stay away from me, I'm disgusted by you.
Yeah, it's
you
like,
know?
I'm up here, you're down there, stay the hell down
Stay
there.
away. It's like a literal disgusting. And they definitely are very vivid about that later on.
Just like the creepy basement below decks that we don't talk about.
Yeah, you're just like, oh shit. And then with the final climactic thing, like, I mean, I'm jumping around a bit, but like when we're talking about the moment where he's trying to move the guy and he smells him and he can't like stand the smell, and that's the part that
And
bothers
meanwhile,
him.
like the kid has like fainted or he's having a seizure or something, and they're just like, throw me the keys.
Yeah.
And stuff. Whereas like this woman has just been stabbed.
Yeah, right. Like it's like the kid. It's like it's a you know, like it's a seizure, you know, like, and their whole lives fall apart, but like this person's literally bleeding out, you know, like, and it's one of those things where like they just don't see it. They're living two different realities, and that's what it all comes down to in the head of that scene is being like they live in two different realities, and even though they had worked themselves into this reality, they weren't really part of it. They were always less than them.
And that's the son's like big question that he had said to the rich girl.
Yeah.
That it's just like, do
I fit in here?
Do I fit in here? Like, do I belong in this space?
Yeah. And I think that's interesting because he's thinking about that while going to go murder somebody, you know? Like, he's like, I'm going to go fucking kill someone. Like, he's just like, okay. But it's the line crossing is so... It's not only a great visual metaphor, but I love it as them talking about it, like, openly. Because it's one of those things that, like, yeah, it sounds like it's a couth thing to say, but it's really fucked up to say, you know? Like, it's really messed up. And it's something that they were basing this whole, like, relationship with people that lived in their house with, you know? Like, don't cross this line.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? Like, you're just like, oh.
And again, it just explores the different levels, because the fact that the lowest you could ever be would be the husband who's been living in the basement for like 4 years.
Yeah.
And the fact that he just kind of looks up at them almost
with love.
He almost deifies them.
Yeah, he's like
really
he's like respect. As he's dying, he's like respect, and he says, "Do I know you?" You know, like he doesn't even know him.
You're nothing.
He doesn't even know him. You know, like it's one of those things that you're just like, oh. shit. Like it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And like what I think is so great about the movie is that it starts off with this tension of like, oh, okay, so we're getting in with this family, and then it just keeps building the tension and building the tension and building tension.
And it's pretty funny too.
Yeah,
it has like a very sly, like dark sense of humor, and I'm all about that.
Yeah, the dark sense of humor was really like hilarious, you know, like because I mean I expect that from the guy who did Snowpiercer and Okja. Okja is just a gigantic dark humor fest. It's like, where does your meat come from? Like, you know, like, and you're like, oh,
this next time you get a burger, you fuck.
Yeah, and you're like, fuck, I'm sorry. Like, it's like one of those things. But and that's kind of why I like his directing style. Is it is kind of in your face about important issues when he's being subtle about like certain things. You know, it's great. But I also love when he's like head on about things. Like,
and it's just so damn tense.
Yeah, it's so damn tense.
It just has you like shaking like a leaf by the end.
Oh
of it.
man, like worse than most horror films. And that's the thing, it wasn't a horror film. Like there's some bloody moments, but like in reality, it's not a horror film, but you can feel his horror vibes in it. Like,
yeah, even when like the most horrifying things happens, it feels like it hits harder than something that's a lot more gratuitous.
Yeah.
You know what I would kind of compare it to? Not that they're like one-to-one or anything, but just the way it's able to build tension and make little moments like hit like a truck is something like The Conversation.
Yeah,
Like,
I feel that.
The scene in the bathtub.
Yep.
It's because of the build-up. Like, The Conversation is not a horror movie.
No.
But you get to that moment and it hits
And
like
you're
a
just
truck
like,
because you're like, I got it.
Make it stop. And then, yeah, that's what's great about this film is it might be too intense for some people. Is that like, as much as people are like, man, Joker's intense and dark, you're like, yeah, but in like a, like he's descending into madness sort of way, you know, like you kind of expect certain madness, you know, like here it just slips into madness real quick and you're like, ho, shit.
And
like,
it ends on a pretty bleak note.
yeah, and a really
Like there's like a nugget, a morsel
of hope. A
Just
morsel.
a bit.
A tiny
crumb.
bit. And they're like, it's a dream though.
Yeah, it's like, but maybe he'll do it.
But maybe.
But probably not, but maybe.
But that's what's crazy. But that's what's crazy about it is that like after all that and trying to cross those poverty lines and class lines, the end story is him being like, I can still pull myself up out of this poverty, you know, like because I have these skills and this knowledge, you know, like, and maybe, you know, like, but again, he ends it with being like, yeah, you know, it's all a dream. Like, it's all a dream, like that part, you know, like, and you're just like, dang, man, like, I feel like, it's funny because he still dreams about it, even at the end, you know, like, even being disfranchised and, like, thrown out.
Yeah,
like,
the fact that he was just like, they were so close, but then they lost it.
Yeah. But, oh, man, directing-wise, it's an astounding film, and I feel like the movie carries... When a movie carries itself because of its directing, you're like, damn.
Yeah, it's one of those things
like,
where it's executed so well that it makes it seem easy.
Yeah.
And you know for damn sure it's not.
It was not,
but
yeah.
they make it look easy.
Oh my gosh. Like, the Morse code scenes could have been cheesy, but they worked out so well and somehow felt very him, you know? Like, those Morse code scenes, I don't know why, they felt very Snowpiercer.
I can understand
like,
that.
they felt very, like, his, like, sentimental. And, I mean, that would be the only part of the film that I felt was a little bit of a weird stretch, that they were, like, sending out the messages through a light bulb switch. But, like, it was emotional, and, like, you know, I felt it, like, you know.
That one was a little weird.
It was weird. But overall, it's a movie that tries to be realistic, and I feel like that's where the tension grows.
Yeah,
you know,
and I don't feel like it held back or didn't go far enough, because I feel like the way you wrap up a film like this definitely feels like you could so easily be like, let's dial it back.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm glad they actually went full on, like they had Mr. Kim stab the dad.
Yeah.
Just because, just like, how dare you with, like, the smell thing.
Right. It's wild that this man looked up to him, you know, like, and it's not only that, it's like, it's so funny because the smell thing keeps happening, and he's noticed it, like, subtly. That's one of my favorite parts, is like, the directing is so great because it shows these little scenes, like, right, you know, like where Mr. Kim noticed him sniffing one time in the car, but they haven't said anything about the smell, and then, like, you know, like they bring it up and then they overhear it, you know, like, and then he does it at the end, and you're just like, whoo, you know, like it's those little like visual buildups and story buildups that just make Parasite really that satisfying, you know, like, because that's what I felt like. This was a really satisfying movie. If there was any movie that like I ended and was like, damn, you know, like that was satisfying, was Parasite, you know, like this year I really was like well-rounded, like, damn.
Absolutely agree. Do you want to talk about how it potentially stacks up to the other Best Picture nominees?
So I want to state why it's good that it won both international and Best Picture.
But
I feel like
we
that's
should bring up the other movies first.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go through them all.
So
let's
the
go
first
through
one,
them.
just to get it out of the way, because neither of us
saw
was
Ford
versus
Sorry,
Ferrari.
I'm not watching a racing car movie. Like, even if it's up for Best Picture, like
I'll watch it.
I watched Rush. I watched Rush.
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
Rush.
And I like
There's
the
certain
cast,
racing
and
movies.
I like James Mangold, so I'm
Yeah.
just like, why not?
Well,
The
at
next-
some point,
but I
when
will.
it goes on
It's not
HBO,
like-
it's gonna go on HBO,
Yeah,
and I'll
that's
watch it
definitely
there.
true.
Like, you know, like absolutely gonna be on.
Next one up is The Irishman.
Okay, so I watched The Irishman recently, like, and I did enjoy The Irishman. I knew right from the end of the movie it wasn't gonna win Best Picture, but it had a good running, you know, like definitely people would be like, look, it's all our Hollywood greats making a great movie, you know, like, and that's what's great about the movie is you have to be like, look at this. If this was any other time in movies, this is a fantastic tentpole of a fucking movie, and then they threw it on Netflix, you know, like, that's why it's great, is that you get this, like, tentpole movie with Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, like Joe Pesci, Ray Romano.
Ray Romano. But the greatest of all
It's the greatest.
But the thing I liked about The Irishman was the fact that not only was it that, but it was also just so pathetic and sad.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things.
It's interesting because I'm a huge Goodfellas fan. I'm a huge Goodfellas fan. We were talking about guilty pleasure movies last episode, but I feel like that Goodfellas is one of those movies I've seen maybe 5, 6, 7 times. And I've analyzed it over and over and over again. And going into Irishman, it's so stark, the difference is, because he's not playing anymore. Like, you know, like, he's like, because people accused him in
The Wolf of Wall Street?
Wolf of Wall Street, being like, no, you made crime look really fun there. You can't make crime look really fun, Martin Scorsese.
So he really just kind of peeled the skin back and just showed you the inside.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is a really sad existence in life to have.
And that's
to be honest,
that's what this whole movie is.
It actually
being like,
reminds me of the appeal of why I like Trainspotting 2 so much. We
Yeah,
talked about that
yeah,
in the
you
belated
did.
sequels episode.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like, hey, there's consequences to these actions.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like, yes, that's one of the strongest parts of Irishman, other than the Jimmy Hoffa stuff. I love the Jimmy Hoffa stuff because it's one of those things where cinematically and thematically it works, it plays so well because no one knows what happens to Jimmy Hoffa. So, like, you know something's going to happen to him the whole time he's there, and he's Al fucking Pacino the whole time. So you're just like, you're going to kill Al fucking Pacino? Like, you know, like, and it's just, it's definitely a good 3 hours, but it's definitely like, if I was on a plane while watching it, watching on my phone, just as Scorsese intended for me to watch it. You know, like, you know, sitting there with my phone and my Bluetooth headphones. But I really enjoyed it and watched it all the way through without any breaks. Like, I didn't even move for the 3 hours because I really wasn't gross.
I think that's actually a good specific context to watch it in, because I know there have been the arguments of just like, oh, it could have really just been split up as like a miniseries.
And it really could have.
And that's
Maybe
really
could
just
have.
because of the pacing and the way it jumps around through time a bunch.
Yeah.
And no, it's not going to be as fun a time as like Wolf of Wall Street or Goodfellas or even Casino to a point, though Casino does get pretty dark. But
it's like, it's funny because Goodfellas has their consequences at the end, but it's all just like, don't do drugs, idiots. You know, like, and this is like, hey, crime can fuck up your life. Like, you know, like.
So I think to summarize, like, good.
But I
Good
immediately.
that it got the nomination.
Definitely
shouldn't have won,
but definitely one of the best
glad that he
gangster
didn't.
films of all time. Like, that's the thing, is you got to put it in the context of all movies. You know, like when you're watching these Best Picture things, you got to be like, where does this fall? And like, Irishman definitely up there with some of the best gangster films. Like, absolutely, no question. But is it the Best Picture winner? No. Like, you know, like, and I automatically knew that.
It's definitely like upper tier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Like, and that's the thing. I joke and that it's an old man movie. It's like finally everyone's showing their age. Everyone's in their pajamas or on the phone the whole movie. Like, they're either talking to themselves in their pajamas in hotel rooms or they're talking on the phone. And that shows how, like, old they've gotten, you know, like instead of like the walk and talks or, you know, like something that involves a little bit more. Like, but. You know, it was still great. Like, yeah.
So the other one it's stacked up against was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
which I did not see. I'm sorry, you have seen.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it's one that's been criticized for. People say, "Oh, it's like I feel like it was a little too slow," but I think that just really comes down to. Once Upon a Time is definitely a film that feels like it takes its time a little more than his other films do, and it's not just about shooting.
It's not just about
it's not just about like gunfire and ridiculousness.
Yeah.
It's one that's really contemplative.
Okay. All right.
And that's what I like about it.
I'm there for it. I just haven't been there for it yet. You know, like it's one of those things where it's like, I love you, Quentin, and I will be there. But I'll wait, you know, like I wanted to, but I just haven't yet.
Next up, Jojo Rabbit.
So
Rabbit. We're just going through all the ones
I haven't seen. Sorry, guys. Going on. What do you think of Jojo Rabbit?
Jojo Rabbit was great. I had already mentioned when we did the Decade in Review episode that it and like Knives Out were like my two favorite of the past year, and so good, so funny. not afraid to go serious when it does. I love Taika Waititi's sense of humor.
Yeah.
I just need him to make more movies for me. And it's
keep up the good work.
It's probably his best film to date.
Yeah,
so far.
That's good. It's good to hear.
So that's another one where I'm just like, I'm glad it got the nod. I knew it wasn't going to win.
Yeah. Just because the Academy's the Academy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one is one you have seen is Marriage Story.
Marriage Story. I'll go right off the bat. This movie touches me in a way that only other divorced children probably watch this movie. You know, like I'm a child of divorce, so like when I watched this movie, there was a lot of scenes that I've literally lived through or seen or like been around for, you know, like, and there was several moments I just cried, you know, like it, and not many movies make me cry like a little baby on an airplane. Like, you know, like there's just not, another movie I was watching on an airplane. It's been a busy month. But like, is that I was literally just crying at the end because it not only is a great movie, but so truthful and raw, you know, like it wants to touch what this is all about. And it's a hard topic, you know? Falling out of love and getting divorced and still holding a family together is a hard topic.
That it's such like a rough experience to get through, but maybe I'm just broken.
Yeah.
Because Marriage Story is one of those movies I could go back to a lot.
Oh, yeah, no,
like,
that's the thing. I wanted to restart it right when I finished. I was crying, and I was like, I'm going to put it back on. I might, because it was powerful, man. Like, it was my pick for best winner before I saw Parasite.
Yeah.
Is like, I was like, look, Adam Driver sells it. Like, if
Joaquin Phoenix
didn't carry a whole film on his back,
then
you know, like
definitely should have gone to Adam
yeah,
Driver.
exactly. Because first off, it would be amazing to be like Star Wars to be like Academy Award winner Adam Driver as Kylo Ren. You know, like you'll be like, like it would be like because you're like that's not the same fucking role at all.
Just like yes, Adam Driver can act, people.
But he really can. He's so good in that, and not only is he good, but Scarlett Johansson is fantastic.
And she had received 2 nominations. She had gotten Best Actress for Marriage Story, and then Best Supporting Actress for Jojo Rabbit. She was
Right.
nominated for 2.
And that's the thing, is Scarlett Johansson, like, as much as people like to be like, haha, now she's an Asian lady and goes to the shell, it's like, she is a crazy chameleon, you know, like, as much as she's playing just white ladies, you know, like,
She's got range.
She's got range. It's like, if you didn't love her in Her, you know, like, it's like, how could you not? And then I feel like probably JoJo, she brings it in JoJo, but like in Marriage Story, she really does. And I feel like not only is that movie carried by 2 great performances, is the script is fantastic the whole time. Because as the director says in interviews, he says, I wanted to create a divorce story where it was nobody's fault. And that I thought that's the reason why I jumped into this movie as soon as I got a copy of it. I was like, yep. I was like, I want to hear that
it's
story.
Just
like,
so raw, and it definitely appeals to me because I'm a psycho and I love, because it's not really technically a romance, it's about the end of a romance.
Yeah.
But I love films in that genre that are just so raw and bleak and just really
Ooh.
show you the underside and how just things just fall apart, and that's like bye.
Bang. And it, like, almost feels like Lost in Translation in a way like that, but that's just because of Scarlett Johansson and the dwindling endlessness of like existence. Like, and you're just like, hey, yeah.
Talk about another bleak movie that I love.
But I really, really did love Marriage Story, and it's funny because I was saying earlier that like Lighthouse was my pick, like before I saw Marriage Story and things. Like,
shocked that Lighthouse didn't get nominated
right?
for more.
I really did.
It's like, I'm going to say it, Willem Dafoe should have at least been nominated for best performance for the Lighthouse.
I mean, he's scary in that movie. He's scary, but it's one of those things that Marriage Story touched me in a way that many other movies do not. And that's always important. I feel like if the art can touch out and reach somebody who's been through that experience, and it's not their experience, like, you know, it's like, sure, there was moments where they were similar, but, you know, like, it was really the essence of those moments that made
I love
me
that
like
it doesn't feel
cry.
It doesn't feel contrived and preachy at times.
No.
Like the Laura Dern speech about women.
Yeah.
Could have so easily have come off as like,
but there's a
preachy and
reason
unnatural.
why she got a nom for that.
Exactly.
There's a reason, because that scene, you're just like, yeah, Laura Dern, yeah.
Like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. It's like, but this whole situation sucks. But you're right.
You're right.
But no. But again, no one's wrong.
No one's wrong. And that, oh man, I really just, I was really blown away by that movie. So, and that's why I was really happy it was up there for Best Picture. But again, it's like, as much as that really touched me emotionally, Parasite steps a little bit above it because of the masterful directing. Like, you know, it just takes that, like, that extra step of being super purposeful. Like, you know, like, but, you know, like, that's not what the flavor of Marriage Story needed anyway. So, like, you know, it definitely didn't need that, like,
and
flourish.
I felt like it also really hit it home with its ending.
Yeah.
Felt very natural, the right place to stop, and the logical conclusion to where that kind of situation ends up.
Yeah, it's true. And you know, I really thought that this was, it just was good.
That's definitely one I'm going to be like revisiting a lot.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, I think, or maybe I'm just thinking of something else, I think it's getting a Criterion release.
Oh, wow, that'd be great, because it's on Netflix.
Because I know, like some
it's
of
a
the other
Netflix
ones.
original, so you're kind of like, okay, where am I going to get this?
I mean, I will totally buy it physically.
Yeah,
because that'll hopefully actually have special features on it.
Yeah, right? I'll watch that. And so like this was my high contender for winner. Like, but I can even argue that Parasite takes above.
But there's still 3 more fighting for the top
all right,
spot.
3 more fighting for his top. Let's go.
Next one up is Joker. This is going to be an interesting one.
Okay, so I mean, people are going to be a little bit angry at me, but I liked it, you know, like, and not liked it, I loved it. Another movie I watched on a fucking plane, but, and I'm sure Todd Phillips is like, God damn it, I did some good lighting there. Like, you know, like, and I'm just like, hey, but
it's like, you missed all the soft focus.
I really, really enjoyed Joker because it feels like the Joker of my childhood. It feels like Mark Hamill. Like, this feels like, and not fully, of course, it's like, of course, dark and, you know, brooding, but when it gets to finally the Joker stuff, it feels like that flamboyant, bigness of that type of Joker, like that he wants to be on TV and he wants to be telling those stories to people.
Probably say we haven't seen, at least in live action, since probably Nicholson.
Yeah, well, no, Heath Ledger does it a little bit with the scene at the party, but he doesn't, and he sends the videotape in, and I always love those little bits of being like him being showy, but they don't take it as far. In Heath Ledger,
if we're talking like pure flamboyance, I'm thinking like Nicholson,
where he plays the music and walks around.
I would say
painting.
Leto to an extent, but it's like a different kind of flamboyance. It's an uncomfortable flamboyance.
I don't like it, but that's they play it up a lot here in Joker. Like he's kind of a dramatic dude, like that's the reason why he's coming up with these dramatic scenarios of like dating her and and things with Thomas Wayne,
and imagining himself in the spotlight, being on TV, a much better comedian than he ever would be. But it's just one of those things where like I like it. I don't love it. I have my reservations about it. I had spoken about it before that I think it's definitely very much carried by Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes. No, that's the thing is I will automatically say if Joaquin Phoenix wasn't here, there's no movie. There's literally no movie.
More so than... Because I hate it when people argue that like The Dark Knight wouldn't have been as good as it was were it not
but it's
for
still Christian
Heath Ledger.
Yeah,
so it's no, I think there's enough elements in that film that even if you shifted the focus completely to Harvey Dent, you would still have a great movie.
Yeah, you still have a good stuff. But
you take Joaquin Phoenix out of this and it completely falls apart.
Yeah, because I feel like this a good movie to compare it to is American Psycho with Christian Bale. I love that movie, and that's the reason why I love this movie is because they are very similar. It's just like a serial killer slipping into madness, and that's kind of. But Joker adds the layer of the supervillain and the social revolt, and like. I feel like the reason why this movie stands out and the reason why the Academy was like, oh, nice, is first off, Joaquin's performance, and how measured it was in showing this meltdown, but also expressing why the meltdown is happening, instead of being like, oh, look at him just go, like him talking about how even though you have a mental illness, people expect you to act normal. And then when you're acting normal or not normal, people are like, oh.
I will say this. I'm no expert concerning mental health. My mother does work in that field.
All right.
She had actually just seen it like the other day.
Yeah.
And she said the accuracy of it like made her uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I feel like that's
definitely
what they're trying to do. Is it trying to make you uncomfortable?
Because that wouldn't be entirely based on a performance either.
Yeah.
So I will give the movie that. But it's just one of those things where I feel like if you took out the gimmick of the fact that it is a Joker film, what you're left with would be a solid movie, but I don't think it would be as elevated as people.
But but that's the thing is maybe that's why I like it.
I've seen similar concepts done before. I know everyone compared it to Taxi Driver. I think King of Comedy is more appropriate as a comparison. Yeah. But my big one, and we were talking about this with Eddie, and you haven't seen it, is Falling Down with Michael Douglas.
Which I hear is
That's a great movie, and I feel like it's a better execution of that type of story.
Huh. Interesting. I do understand that. I feel like it wears its influences on its sleeve very easily. But the thing is that I feel like and I've argued for this, is that a lot of comic book movies, when they start to adapt a story, I get taken out of the movie. And the only actual story they try to adapt here is the Thomas Wayne, Martha Wayne murder. And but that's actually just like core Batman stuff to me,
I'll say this. It's a hard sell for me to like see the Waynes die. I don't get irritated Eddie had brought that up too of it drives him nuts. It doesn't like make me mad or anything. I remember going into BVS, they're just like, I don't want to see the Waynes die again, but look how beautiful it was
look
shot.
how nice
look how Zack Snyder shot this. This is gorgeous. This is probably the best one we've had.
Exactly. So there's
and then
there's
you get
a way
to Joker,
to do it.
And the reason I think it works in Joker is because it's framed in a completely different kind of context this time. And
they don't pull Batman 89 and they're like, it's the Joker who did it, they're like, hey, the Joker caused it, and I feel like that's important, an important difference.
I would totally defend that decision in Batman 89 though.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Because it just works for that movie in a time where they didn't fucking know if they were going to be able to make another Batman movie, so they just had to make a story that was complete.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They kind of closed the loop instead of leaving it open, you know? But that's also why I enjoy this movie, is it feels like, you know, like it is covering a lot of different things that feel Jokerish or Batmanish, but it doesn't actually adapt anything. And that's what I really liked about it, is it felt original without feeling completely alienated from its source, you know, like, and I was never like, oh, they are adapting this Joker story right now, even though, like, there's definitely moments which, like, allude to, like, Killing Joke, like him going up on stage and telling jokes and he's not doing so well, you know, like,
yeah, it's not lots of, like, based heavily on any specific, like,
but you
Joker
feel Brian
story.
Azzarello in there.
Yeah,
you
definitely
feel
tone-wise.
You feel
certainly.
Mark Hamill's.
And,
I
like,
feel like Killing Joke. You know, like, so there's a lot of like that touching there.
There's,
and
like,
it's funny
echoes, but it's nothing specific.
Yeah. No, I want to know your thoughts on this, because it's funny, because before I saw the movie and they were like, oh, we might make a Joker sequel, I was like, don't. Because obviously you caught lightning in a bottle. Don't do it. But now that I've seen the movie and Joaquin Phoenix says he's back for more, I kind of want more.
I don't really need it.
I don't need it either, but if he's going to do the flamboyant on TV the whole time, I'm there. You know, like,
and it depends on what they try and do with Bruce, like, going forward.
True.
Because Arthur Fleck is, like, in his 40s, dude.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, yeah, he's old.
Is Batman going to be punching, like, this 70-year-old man by the time he's, like, in the cape and cowl?
Right, you're
it
just like,
kind of
wait a
puts
minute.
it in a weird spot. But I'd imagine it's done well enough. It's definitely, like, done well enough, and if Joaquin Phoenix is really up for it, I'm sure Warner Brothers is going to be like, well, we like money.
Yeah, we like money. And so, I mean, it's just funny, because I definitely did not want it before and thought that's a really bad idea, but now seeing it, you kind of go, well, now I kind of want to see him going fully Joker the whole time, because as much as this is a Joker film, it's very much an Arthur Fleck film until the very end.
Yeah.
You know, like, until he's on the show and he says, call me the Joker, that's when I feel like the real switch happens. And it's like, you don't need the acid bath to tell you that he's fucking the Joker now, you know? Like,
that's true.
And that's what I loved about this movie, is that, like, they never had to do, like, I expected the acid bath. Like, if you wanted me, I was kind of I was expecting it.
No, the movie was so grounded, even more so than, like, the Nolan films, that I was not expecting the acid off. Like, not the chemicals.
I was just like, it's gotta be coming.
It was just, I figured it was just gonna be a dude in makeup. Like, if the Nolan films didn't do the chemicals, it was just a dude with scars on his face and some makeup, there's no way in hell this one was gonna do it either.
True. I feel it. I get it. Yeah. And they want it to be realistic. They didn't want to be like, he's got weird powers now, you know? Like, they're just like, he's the Joker. Like, but I definitely don't think it's Best Picture material.
No.
I definitely think he deserves winning the Best Actor, though.
I have no problem Joaquin Phoenix winning Best Actor
because he carries that film. And I'll say it again. It wouldn't be a film without him. You know, like, it just literally wouldn't fly.
So, two more. So, remember when we said we wouldn't go too deep into these? That was a lie.
That was a lie.
So, that was a lie. But anyway, two more. Next one is Little Women.
Little Women. So I didn't see Little Women. Did you?
I did see Little Women.
Nice.
Yeah. It was...
And I wasn't against it. I absolutely want to see Little Women.
Like, I liked it. For me, it was just kind of like
a very... First off, Emma Watson.
I'm always it was like a very well done period piece that I enjoyed. It was fun to watch. It was
Is it sort of like watching those reimaginings of the Jane Austen pieces where...
it's sort of like that.
Yeah. Which it means it's got like, a certain audience.
Except it has much more of like a feminist like edge to it.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about it. As far as like comparing it to like Greta Gerwig's other stuff, I maybe like it a little more than Lady Bird, and I did like Lady Bird too.
Really?
But they're both on like the same sort of level. The performances are really good.
Nice.
Like Saoirse Ronan was great. Emma Watson was good.
I'm there for it. I want to see it, but it's one of those things that I'm not dropping money for it at the moment.
It's one of those things where I wasn't like drooling over it.
But once it's on streaming, I'm absolutely watching it, you know, like absolutely there.
And then the last one is 1917.
So
which is honestly the one I expected to win.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but it's the one that I was like, okay, it's got everybody.
It's the one that like ticks all like the Academy boxes that are just like,
seriously, they're like, it's one shot. Like if Birdman won, I was kind of like 1917's the shoe-in, you know, like because I hear it's even more of a better one shot than Birdman.
And people have certainly argued that like if you take out the one shot gimmick and it's like amazing cinematography, that 1917 is fairly cliche. I sort of disagree with the notion. I disagree with that,
and also because...
given the focus.
Well, also because taking away the one shot, and I haven't seen the film, but saying to take that away takes away the whole narrative device of the one shot. Yeah. You know, like, not only is the one shot a technical achievement, it's a narrative device, you know? Like, so I feel like that's a stupid argument.
And I also just disagree with it. Like, that film, at the end of its first act, already upends your expectations of where it's going to go from that point. So I'm just like, no, not at all.
No. But dude, you thought that was going to win, but you do agree that Parasite was going to is winning, and why?
Yeah, I do.
No, but so why is it a bit step up above 1917? Why is Parasite take the money over 1917?
Just because I find that it's a lot more risque and really like isn't afraid to just deep dive into something. Yeah. Because 1917 is great, but as far as like plot wise, it's not like revolutionary, and it doesn't really have much to say that you haven't already seen in every other war film.
Feel that.
Like, it's not a deep film, it's a dense one. Yeah. If I had to describe like 1917. So like Parasite just kind of wins for it because just a broader, more interesting premise for one, and then just the way it's executed.
I feel that.
And it's a lot rawer.
I feel that. All right. So let's break it down into why it's important that it won international and Best Picture. Because it's important that it did. Because this is something that either hasn't happened before or doesn't happen often.
Yeah, and it's like I said with the Best International, you would think if it won Best International, it would rule it out. Because, to be honest, that's what the Academy did when they added the Best Animated Film category.
Yeah, they kind of just
like, we are never going to have a Beauty and the Beast situation ever again. Just like, get those cartoons out of our Best Picture nominations. Because the Academy really doesn't give a fuck about animation.
No, they really don't. It's like they act like they do, but they don't. They're like, get it out.
I mean, the moment you like nominate Boss Baby for like a Best Animated Feature, remember when that happened? They're just like, yeah, you guys really just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, they just
this year was better.
Yeah,
but it's just like, okay, you still have ways to go.
Yeah, no, oh, well, hold on. I also saw, and I mean, this is not even the same category. I saw Best Documentary. Did you see American Factory?
No, I haven't.
American Factory was great. If it's on Netflix, guys, go watch it. Have some existential dread about your future in the job market, and because that's basically what that whole movie is being like, hey, fight for your rights, and then they're like, hey, your rights don't matter because robots are going to take your jobs, and you're just like, oh, fuck. But it is a really great watch. It's, you know, when you watch a documentary and you're an hour in and you're like, okay, you said what you're going to say. Yeah, I always feel like that's a problem with most documentaries. They always try to go an hour and a half or 2 hours, and they've said all they're going to say in an hour. And this definitely kept saying things. It kept evolving what it was trying to say, and it keeps you engrossed for that hour and a half. And that alone for me means that it wins Best Documentary, because like some documentaries you're just like, okay, I'm walking away now. Like, you're like, you keep going. I'm done. Like, you know, like, and this one does not. But Best International and Best Picture, it's important because it's never happened before, but also confirms how superior Parasite is. I feel like it stands above not only its international category, where it was the obvious winner, but that it takes the Best Picture category, because it shows that, you know, as an Academy Awards, we can't be, you know, like, we can't be closed-minded.
Yeah, I mean, I remember back when we were in school, and this was back in like 2011.
Yeah.
About how we were talking about like the foreign film market, or like the international film market now, which is a more appropriate title, is like really hitting with big swings, and I feel like they need more attention.
Yeah. And it shows, because I just literally read an article that Parasite, after they put it into theaters, and it's making a box office record for a re-release of a movie, you know, like, and that just shows that, like, great movies will sell. They just need
the attention,
you know, like, and people complain all the time. They're just making sequels and prequels and all these things. Like, and you have this original foreign film staring you in the face and you're not watching it, like, or not even thinking about watching it. Like, come on.
And I feel like that tends to be the Oscars at their best, despite all their problems, because it's just, you could just quantify it to human error. It's one of those things where people complain that the Oscars don't include, like, more tentpole films, the stuff that people actually watch. But I think the better trade-off is that they at least try to find the stuff that they think is pushing the medium.
Yeah.
And stuff that, to be honest, you would have not seen if it hadn't been nominated to begin with.
It's true. It's like, I would say that most people
you
wouldn't
know, the
have
only
seen Parasite.
Thing,
you know
like,
the
only thing you go to see the movies for is, like, whenever the next Marvel movie comes out. Like, don't lie.
Yeah, don't lie. And that's the thing, is like, that's the great thing about the Academy, is it keeps the film community aware and looking forward into their own medium.
And they and they definitely had a double whammy for this one, because not only did Bong Joon-ho, like, win Best Directing, but Taika Waititi also won for Best Adapted Screenplay for Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, which is just like, like, you're just like, all right. There's a lot of good wins here in this whole thing. I mean, we could go through the Academy a little bit more, but
it's just a step in the right direction, I think, just in summation.
Yeah, exactly. And sure, every year we won't have a Parasite, like, we won't have a foreign film that rocks.
It's like, we'll have another Green Book situation.
No, well...
There's always, like, those years where you get, like, those Best Picture winners, but it's also hard to really quantify sometimes, because you never really know what films will really last.
Yeah.
Even if something is amazing at the time it comes out, you don't know how people are going to feel about it in 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like that might be the way with Joker. Who knows what people feel about it now?
Because, I mean, to be honest, like, Best Picture winners in general and, like, what's been nominated against them, that could be a whole topic in and of itself. Yeah. It's just like, oh, obviously this other nomination should have won. It's this movie. It's like, well, that was back then. This was going to stand the test of time.
It's true. It's like, not many films get the recognition that they should have at the Academy Awards at that time. Mm-hmm. There's very few. Godfather Part 2 gets its joys. It got, Best Picture and all, and so did Godfather 1. But, like, and so does Return of the King. I feel like Return of the King is the ultimate, like, yeah, we all agreed this was fucking amazing at the same time, like, because it swept the awards that night. It got 12 awards.
Yeah, it's like 11, I think.
No, it's 12. It's crazy. And it's one of those things where it doesn't often happen that all the stars align for a picture to win like that. And even if a certain picture might deserve that, it's the field is big and large, like.
And I'll tell you what still holds up is motherfucking Return of the King.
Motherfucking Return of the King does hold up. That's the thing. Extended cut, baby. But Parasite is a fantastic film. I would absolutely recommend it to anybody. Like, it's almost one of those things where it's intense, but I would absolutely recommend it to everybody.
Don't be intimidated at the fact that it is a film that you have to watch with subtitles. You'll get over it.
Yeah,
I mean,
will.
We're talking about Frank over here, who's like the biggest dubby in the world.
That's true. I am a big dubby. Anything that I'm like, hey, can I eat a snack while watching this instead of reading it? I'm like, hey, but I do love a great foreign film, and I will not shy away. And I feel like this film really stands out as a great foreign film that you need to get over that it's in another language, because it's totally worth it. So is there anything else you want to cover for Parasite and this kind of small look at the Oscar nominees?
No, I think we've covered everything.
So thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to follow us, like us, subscribe to us
on the million platforms.
On the million platforms, on Facebook. Check us out. We have our own Twitters, so you can check us out on there. Mod Kareka and Frank. And I knew my own name.
And why'd you stutter?
And I'm Yep Frank everywhere, so it's like, but you can check out the site we're on, Galaxy of Geek. There's plenty of lists and articles by us if you want to check those out, and all the other episodes of this podcast. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and thank you guys for tuning in.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.